Jonathan Wolk with Wolk 360, and welcome to Dreamland. Great story about this property, working with Chuck on this for a while. We all started this in 42nd Street Oyster Bar on the back of a napkin when Chuck told me it was his dream to buy some land in the North Carolina mountains. And here we are, very remote site. Originally came here, this was all wooded. We took down about 3 acres of trees to clear the site, and we've got the house. Took a while to get the house sited just right, so we've got the view of the pasture, but then we're also above a stream in the back. The whole idea was to have the house sort of sit prominently, and as you come around the road, you kind of get this really beautiful approach and invitation to the house. In the future, there'll be a garage up here on the hill. For now, it'll just be a gravel driveway. And then we've also got some spots for some guest houses to be scattered around the approximately 7 acres. One of the most beautiful parts of this house are the views. And in the design, what we really wanted to do was have lots of windows so that even if you're inside, when the wind's howling out here, you can really enjoy the outside, and it's like the outside comes in. And so we've got the porches, we've got the windows, we've got indoor and outdoor fireplaces. The living just flows to the outside, and you can be just as comfortable out here by a fire pit, looking out on the cows, looking up at the mountains, feeling the breeze. It's just a beautiful getaway, and that was the whole idea for the owner. Was growing up in the city, he wanted a place where he could get out and live in the country. And so we wanted to make this house something that was really a legacy home for him and his family, really become a vacation home that also becomes a long-term place to live, and then something to pass down throughout the family and have meaningful times here. So we'll go in and we'll take a look. Got the roof on, we've got some siding on. Currently we're doing plumbing, mechanical, and electrical rough-in. We've got some great framing to look at, and we'll dig into where we're at and take you through the stages. So the design of the house, as we were talking about, has the big windows, the views, you get this beautiful daylight in, and then it's all one big open space with the rooms off to the sides. Beautiful loft space. It's gonna then look out, and we'll take a look from up there and you'll see how you look out the windows. We were talking about as you come up the driveway, you approach the house, and the idea is you'll park over here, and this is your main entrance in. So you've got a nice large porch, both for hanging out, but also for coming into the house. So this is your main entrance in, nice big exposure, double-sided fireplace. So this fireplace will be both from the inside of the house, but also outside on the porch. And then big, just like I said, open space with the loft will be sort of like the game room hangout space. This here will be the kitchen that looks out into the main living room, so that you can essentially have your party atmosphere. You can be hanging out here, making dinner, and then come here and have a fire and enjoy dinner, and family gathering space. The side entrance, you come in through here, you got your laundry room. This is sort of like a mud room, if you will, and then where you would come in with the groceries. So you've got your kitchen right here, and then the master bedroom and bathroom. And again, the whole idea is this has this sort of cabin feel to it. And so we've got a fireplace in the master bedroom as well. And then side entrance out back into the living room. We've got the guest rooms on the other side of the house. So you've got your main sleeping area over here, and then your guest quarters over on the other side of the house. So this opens up onto the back of the house. So you come out here, and now you've got kind of what we call the quiet side of the house, as if there's a lot of noise out here anyway, but you get the wind and the breeze and the big open views over here. And then back here is kind of the nice quiet. You've got a stream down here. You can hear the crickets and the birds and all that kind of stuff. So this is a nice quiet side of the house, kind of more contained, more quaint. Again, opened the roof up and used the high ceiling to give us just a nice, real big sense of space here. One of the things that, as we were designing this house, that with the volume of it, we wanted to sort of bring it down a little bit here in this side of the living room. So you've got the big, high, lofted volume living space, but we also wanted to sort of step it down as we go out to this back patio. And use this loft as a way to sort of get up and even higher and with higher views. So let's check out the loft space. But once you get up here, it gives you a whole different sense and feeling of the view out, light coming in from the sides, looking down onto the fireplace. This gives you just a whole nother sense of being up and here and experiencing the volume and experiencing the outdoors. When you're framing a space like this, there's a lot to coordinate. So it's almost like the less walls you have, the more you've got to put into the thoughts of what the structure of those walls are. That's why we have a culmination of a bunch of different framing techniques here so that we can keep this open space and span these large openings and then also support everything. We're in a high wind zone. We're sitting up on top of a mountain, so we've also got to make sure that we're supported from not just the vertical loads, so your down loads, but also from your lateral loads from the wind. Also, we're not far from Sparta, so we're actually in one of the few zones in North Carolina, which is an earthquake zone. If those of you remember a few years ago, Sparta was the epicenter of the earthquake that happened in North Carolina a few years ago. So we're also in a seismic zone, which is rare for North Carolina, something you don't really think of, but when you're building a house like this, you think of it. We started to look at, as we designed the house, is how do we maximize this openness and what's the most cost-effective way to do it? And so this is a great part of the house where you can look at a lot of different framing systems. So your typical framing is what most people know of as a 2x4. One of the great questions on the first day in architecture school, and one of the first questions I ask anybody coming to work for us is, what's the size of a 2x4? So a 2x4 is actually not 2x4 as you would expect. You've got 1/2 inch of chipboard on each side. So now your wall thickness is actually 2.5. And then a 2x6 is 1.5 by 5.5. LVL is laminated veneer lumber. So an LVL is really a big, thick piece of plywood. They're very strong. They're a lot of glue. They basically are laminated pieces of lumber so that you can get these long spans. So now you have a combination of dimensional lumber, which are your 2x4s, 2x6s. You have your engineered lumber, which are your LVLs and glue lams. We've got a mix of 2x4 walls and then 2x6 walls, which are load bearing. Then that comes up, and here we have a floor truss system, and we use the floor truss system here to span the loft. That is then capped off by the LVLs, and we've got the LVLs here as the edge beam, and then we've got LVLs here over these door openings. Then over here, we've got roof trusses. So here we use these roof trusses to span this opening that then transition to stick framing over there for where the roof slides down. Then, because we wanted the volume, we did look at the option of doing some scissor trusses that actually have a sloped bottom, but it was more cost effective and gave us more of the look that we wanted to by going with rafters and then using the collar ties, which will then be wrapped and become a feature of the open space. So in this one house, we've got a lot of different framing techniques in order to be a cost-effective and sturdy solution. And then that all ties then into the floor slab. So wherever we've got these different loads coming down, so here, for example, there's a footer in the concrete right here that supports all that load. So you've got it going basically from the roof down and then into the slab. And you can see being here with the family, maybe shooting some pool, hanging out, having a drink, and fire going in the fireplace just gives you a really beautiful sense of why you come here to get away. And that was really the big thing for Chuck, was he wanted a place to get away. And this really gives him that environment. And we'll come back and see it as we get through the next steps.